Good morning, hello. Happy Wednesday, everyone. I know I wasn't able to stream yesterday. It's part of the new schedule. But I'm glad to be here today and tomorrow. And over yesterday and today, or I guess like over the last week or so, I've been in sort of like chatting. My camera looks like it's tilted weird. All right, that's better. I've been chatting with a user on Discord who's also gone through and watched the ECS tutorial, and he had a suggestion for queries that I want to sort of like have an addendum to for the course. Not necessarily like replace what we're doing there, but rather just like, hey, here's like another way to make it a little bit nicer, perhaps. You know, give SOS a bit credit, and then also just have that as like, hey, if you want to like improve this, like consider that like things like this are a possibility. Okay, so we want to go into improve skills. We're in, what branch am I in for this? And actually, you know what I want to do for this one? I don't even want to use you. I've been experimenting with the code spaces. And so if I search for ECS. Yes, but that's not really helpful. Oh, it looks like everyone's. That's not what I want. How about Brooks builds? Oh yeah, that's not helpful at all. It's like finding every single possible repository here, which is not exactly what I want. What is it called? Improve skills. Okay. Improve skills by building this one. Okay. Want to create off of the main branch. I'm going to create a code space for this. So this is using the code spaces beta that I'm in. We're also paying for this at work, and it's surprisingly good. It gives us a VPS that has Rust built into it. So if I take a look at cargo, actually I want Rust app. Oh, it's show, isn't it? Looks like it's using 1.54 as the latest version of Rust, which is that correct? I want to say Rust 1.55 is the most recent. Let's do a Rust app update. Yeah, okay. So it's 1.55 is the latest. Since this is not something I need to run locally here, I think it's like perfectly fine to basically run this in the VPS. I can code locally on it, then all the tests will run just sort of like remotely, which I think is pretty nice. Basically, I'm remoted into this VPS that gets started up really quickly. Now, potential negatives, I have to install Rust Analyzer here. So I think for extensions, we have local installed, but code spaces we need to install Rust Analyzer. And does that work? I saw a little triangle next to it before I clicked install, so that may... it may have more trouble. So far it's doing fine. Okay, so if we come over and we take a look at our just source, let's just look in here. Can we see? I guess maybe in our tests, or wait, this would probably be an integration test we're talking about. Can this be a query type thing? Yeah, okay, all this stuff is working with, stuff is given to us by Rust Analyzer. So that's all fine. Then we'll install other things as we need them. All right, so what is our suggestion? Okay, so the suggestion that was given, and let's, how do I want to do this? Probably add a new test file for queries. And I think we just start with like test stuff here. So function, I guess it wouldn't really be part of this. It would be part of the tests in here. So in here query, we can do a test here. And we're going to want function. I'm going to call this the return entity alternative, yeah. So if I do something like this, let's just do like a quick, just make sure the test is working fine. So we're just gonna assert true. Oh, it does, okay. And compiled and passed, nice. Okay, so the suggestion here, I'm just gonna copy this in from SOS. And his GitHub is that. I'll just go there directly. Okay. The suggestion is this. Excuse me. Okay, so think about the best way to write the querying system. So instead of making a query struct return components, we'll make it return only entities that have the components be specified. And we're gonna have these two components. Now we can add this one. Hello, Buffalo's dad. How are you doing? How's your Wednesday going? So this is the suggestion that's given. I like the idea. So I wanted to sort of like try it out, and then we'll figure it out. You're going good. You're coding. Well, that's good. Coding is good. Still too hot. So I wanted to write a test to implement this. And then the idea for me is that I'm going to have this as like we can do an addendum video, or at least like at the end of the course to say like, here's some alternative ideas. Okay, so if I wanted to do something like this, it sounds like what we're going to have is like create a new query, and then we do the entire query, so like query with component, and then we do run, which gets us back probably a vector of entities that have these methods in it. So what would that actually look like here? So we'll do a let's sort of like query equals query new. So that gives us a brand new query. Then we're going to do a with component. We tell it, oh, well, we can't actually do any of this yet. We have to set everything up, don't we? So let's see, You're not finding that? Oh, there is no new. It's default. That's what I've been using. Okay, so I create the entities. We need to register a component. Let's register a U32. Then we'll create some entities. And let's say that you get like 10.0. And entities dot create entity. So another component with like 20.0. .0, what am I thinking? These are U32s, not F32s. I'm so used to working with those with GGEZ that it's like just now whenever I create anything with numbers, like I just immediately start adding a .0 to it, which is not the best. The young beginner programmers in Discords who tag everyone asking for help on the most basic stuff you can Google is starting to annoy you. It's a mindset thing, and it's also a fear thing. So like one of the things that I learned when I was teaching is it becomes really easy to fall into the trap of going for like the easiest thing. And there's a lot of like sort of things that happen in the brain that cause that, you know, behind the scenes. But it takes a lot of work. Like a lot of mental like energy to go and like research and admit that you don't know something, and you know, asking for help is like the easy solution. That's like the well, I don't have to turn on my brain, so therefore you can do it for me, but then you don't learn. So part of part of learning is learning how to turn that part of their brain on, so that way you don't do that. It's hard. It's totally hard. I have a lot of empathy for the students of the craft, of any craft really, who are even asking that. Stop being logically thinking adult. You're making me feel bad about it. Okay, so the thing is though that so I might say that, but I am also going to say, and then it's our job, the rest of our jobs, to not answer the question for them, to not give them the answer, because then that just encourages them to continue leaving their brain off, and that's not going to work. So we have to like somehow convince them to turn their brain back on and like go after it, but not discourage them. It's not easy, and I've certainly done it the wrong way several times. Yeah, that's all I'll say about that. You always respond with the tutorial online that answers all the questions. Yeah, that's really good. And then the what is it called? The Socratic method is also really good too, which the Socratic method in this case is all about asking questions and just basically say like, well, this is only if you have time. Like, I was a teacher, so like I had time. It was my job. That's what they paid me for. But if you have the time for it, you can just ask them questions to force them to come up with the answer for it to respond to you. So it's sort of like reversing the entire situation and say like, well, you were asking a question, but now I'm asking you the same question, but I'm going to ask you a series of questions that lead you to the answer. So that's another one. But the tutorial online is also a good way to go. Okay, so we create these two components, and now I should be able to query for both of these components together and get a length of 2 essentially for this. So let's do that our query is going to be equal to a query new. Then from the new, we want to do with component. Thought I saw a with component. With component, and I want a U32. And then we'll just run this. Oh, and you are, what's that? Okay, so then we run. Now, I guess what I want to do is I don't want to do a run. I want to like run alternative. So this is going to be a run entity. So I'm going to actually have this be a different, so that way people can see like the original and maybe like this next version here. So we'll have this run entity. Now, the idea is that I can get the, it's going to return a vector of like these entities that can have like the index, which is the ID in it, and then I can have these 2 methods that we see here. But before we get there, we have to fix this, because this is certainly not working here. So expected 1 argument. What did I miss? Oh, we have to pass it in entities. Well, that's certainly okay. Okay. Now it's going to yell at us that run entity doesn't exist. So let's go and fix that. So here's run. I'm going to add another one here. Run entity. I don't know if we need mutable self in this one. Yeah, we just need a reference to self in here. And we know we're gonna have to return something. Let's not worry about that right now. This will allow. All right, I'm gonna fold all the code except what we're working on. Okay, so this one here and this last one here. All right, so we have our query. Now we expect this query to be a vector so we can loop through it. Of a special entity. So we need that entity also. So let's just create this as like maybe a struct in here, or we can do it as an entity query entity, I think. So new file. I'm just creating that in there so I can now use that. And let's see if Rust Analyzer and code spaces can actually get that out here. So I want to be able to tell you that you are going to be a vec of query entity. You cannot figure that out. Okay, that's unfortunate. So let's go ahead and we have use superstar, so that should work for us. Also, we need to move this test inside of here. So that's actually part of our test structure here. Okay, so we're gonna start with use, I think it's gonna be super query entity. I guess we can't pull it out here until we pull it out here. Oh, we have to mod it. That's what it is. We have to mod it from entities. So in here. Okay. From there, we can now come back into query, and then here, I believe we can use query entity. So pull that out fully. And then in here, we should now have access to that through this superstar. So now you're gonna be happy with this. Except for, nope. Yeah, now you're just unhappy because you're not actually returning that. So let's go fix that. A vec of query entity. Now you're going to be upset unless we actually do that. So we're going to return just a plain vector. And back down to here again. Okay, so if we have this query for the vector entity, I should now be able to loop over it. So I really want to be able to just do a for, I guess it's going to be a for entity in query. And I don't want to take ownership of this, or do I? I think it'll be fine for me to take ownership of this because it really only lasts as long as this query, and each one of these are going to be created at this point. So this is going to be fine. Now, as I'm looping through here, what am I going to get? Well, I'm going to get each of these. So we're going to get this one first, and then this one second. And so if I want to grab the component immutably, so just get like a reference to it, then that's where this entire thing is. I can get component, but I should also be able to see what the component ID is. Let's assert that. So we're going to let me do just one component. It's gonna be the exact same query besides the other thing. Okay, so we're gonna do one component here. You know what I'll do? I'll make you an F32. And you can be 15 F32. That way, we are still only gonna get one component here because we're gonna query for U32. We should not get this one. Which means that we should be able to assert that we're getting the index or the ID out of this. Okay, so assert equal that entity.id is equal to 0, really is what we'd expect this to be because it's the same as the index. Now you're going to yell at us because entity doesn't have an ID. So let's go ahead and fix that. So we're going to have an ID and you're going to be a usize. This means we probably want a constructor for this to sort of like bring in this data easily. So we're going to have an ID, which is a usize, return a self. Okay, so now we know that there's an ID. You need to be public. And that should work now. So if I run this, this is going to fail because we're not going to, well, actually, this is not going to fail. Is not going to fail because it's not going to find anything because it's an empty vector. So we need to fix that first. So we need to assert equal that the length is greater than is actually just 1. So it's going to be our query dot length is equal to 1. And then this will be our first failure. So left is not equal to right. We have a 0 length vector. Not super hard to understand. We kind of hard coded this in here. So now we need to actually make it return well, anything really. But specifically, we need to make it return something that has this entity ID of 0. So that means we need to copy what we have here and run. But instead of like returning this indexes and result, we need to sort of like figure this out and do it as we're going. So we have let's get the indexes. So we grab that, so we get the indexes out. Now we know exactly what we're going to get for these components. So it's a vec of just the indexes. And then now we have this like for type. We have a result. This sounds like it might be appropriate too for us because we're going to fill this result up. Now at this point in time, we can just return the result. Now we have this for loop in here. This for loop is going to go over the type IDs that we're looking at, and then grab the type IDs from the components, from entities components. And then we're going to figure out the components to keep, and then we can go through those and push them in. So let's take this. Now the big difference here is we're not going to push exactly what we have in here. It's going to be slightly different. So now you're going to yell at me because it's not the right type that we're returning. So here's our entity components that we get. So it's that entire vec option RC ref cell. We have the components to keep. And perhaps we don't even need to do this, because if we're going to do the work when we extract it with like those functions to sort of get it out, all we really need here is just the index. Yeah, so I don't think we actually need these. We have the indexes, don't we? So I don't need that. We have these result. Actually, think about this. Indexes, vec view size. I want to filter map. I don't want these to be. I just want to return straight up what this is. Now, can collect figure that out for me? If I just do this, I want to return this vec of query entity, which means, okay, cannot be built for that, so it knows that. Okay, so if entity map, okay, so sum, we want to create a new query index, so we're going to return a new query entity, new, and then the ID is going to be this index. And that's it. That fixes this problem, and I don't think we have any errors anymore. So now we can come back down here and run this. And we're passing again. So now we can see that we do in fact have an entity ID. Now I foresee another potential problem in here, which is as soon as I try to get component with this, that could be a little bit tougher. If I have a get component, I have the entity ID sort of inside of it. I kind of need the type ID, don't I? So that I know which component to get. Best feeling is working on code for your main station all day, being tired when you're done, pushing it and pulling it from your laptop, continue working it from your bed. I mean, yeah, as long as you don't burn yourself out. I have run into that problem before. Is like I have to like keep myself from working too much sometimes, so that I don't like burn myself out. So if I want to be able to get the component here, what is this gonna look like? Because I would like to be able to say like let our component. So in this case, whatever this is, let's imagine that this is maybe health. So you're a workaholic. Yeah, it's I mean, so like lots of grains of salt here, but I don't think being a workaholic is a problem necessarily, but working on the same thing over and over again is in my opinion not the healthiest thing. But like we can spread out our hobbies and like other things to like many other sides, and as long as it's not the same, then it's fine. Okay, so let's do like our health component, like health for this component is going to be equal to our entity dot get component. So can we do something like this? Let's find out. Now, obviously we don't have a get component on here, but what would we need to actually get this in here? So hub function get component, which we might be able to just call this a get. We're gonna have this as a ref to self, and we don't know what we're gonna return, do we? We're gonna have to have like a type that is being stored in here, which you could see is why we have this type that implements any here, but it's going to return a ref of this type T. So let's try that. So we know we're gonna have a type that implements any. We're gonna return a ref, which this is gonna be a ref like that, implements type T. Okay. So, how would I get this? Well, I also am gonna need access to the entities, aren't I? So that could potentially be a problem. But I wonder if I can then just copy the entities in here, or if they have to be passed in for a little bit of injection, dependency injection. Now, if I put them in here, so if I do like entities, and you're going to be a reference to entities, so that's going to mean that we need a lifetime. And so if we do a lifetime there, that's going to be fine. Do we need a life? Oh, then entities needs to be passed in here, which is going to be a this, but we need the lifetime here as well. So we need the lifetimes here, and then entities. Okay, so far so good. Now this any, need to pull you in. Okay, now it's just yelling at me that we're not doing this thing. Now, can I actually... Can I actually call this and like save that in there? Because that's kind of a I think we're only doing entities as a reference everywhere, so we should be fine. The borrow checker should allow us to do it. Okay, so we're gonna get component. Looks like we do need to give it the type here. So our type is going to be a U32, so we can't get away from that. Unless I somehow stored the type in earlier. I don't know if I can just store a type like that. That would be something in the future to look into. Okay, so I'll get components. Okay, so you've got that. So we have this ref of a U32 that's supposedly coming back, even though it's yelling at us up here because we're not actually doing the thing. So what's next? to get the thing, well, we now know the ID. So we have the index and we have the type. So we can get the type ID out of here. So that the type ID is going to equal to type ID. Come on. T of that. Okay, so that gives us an actual type ID. I can use this to get the actual component out of entities. So we can get the components. It's going to be equal to self.entities dot I guess it would be components dot get. I don't need to get it mutably. We're just going to get this one immutably. So it's going to be a reference to this type ID. That's going to give me an option here. So maybe components. So that's a good one too. Is what this should probably be an option that we're returning. Unless like we know that it exists, right? So maybe we can return a result with a ref t inside. And then we can convert this into a result here. Can I do this here? I don't know if I can easily turn that in to the type of result I need to. I can do the map. The map. That's not really helpful. What was the thing? It was like, or I remember we looked into it. Oh, I think oh yeah, it's okay or. And probably an okay or else. So our result. So if it's okay, we get the thing, but the else is going to be this error, which is going to be this type of function. We have US and error, but really I want to return a, can I bail? And we're going to have could not find component with provided type. Then I can question mark that. That gives me this result. I really want you to return out there. So that still gives me a result here. It's not what I want. Can't really do, let's not return this right away. Let's do something like that for right now. Those are expecting 0 arguments, but takes 1 argument. Oh. Look at that. That gives me, okay, that now gives me this vec of option. See, that's still a result. I want, oh yeah, okay. So now I can do this. I'm gonna go back to a result here. I'm gonna put the ref at the very last second. To generic. I want to make sure that you are the right kind of result. Use error result as well. Okay, then let's just do that. Okay. Take 0 generic arguments, but 1 generic argument. Oh, I think it's the of that takes it. Like that. Okay. You are still upset though. Okay, so I can't call bail here. I need to actually return a real result. Now I think, do I have custom errors? Attempting to register. Okay, so this one probably. Created component. Okay, component not registered. That's what I want, I think. So that's gonna be custom errors. So I want to return an error. Custom errors. Component not registered. Into. Oh, is it error? Yeah, it is fun to go back into very old games and sort of like see how we feel about them. I never was able to play the Walking Dead games. I like got to the first zombie and then freaked out. I'm not very good at like those horror games where they like put you on a time limit and then have like some creature approaching you. Is like I get really overwhelmed really fast in that case. What did I do wrong? How do I set the other? Here's my other ones where I have this custom results. None of that here. Maybe that's in entities. You're returning a result. Okay, so here, return error. Okay, so just like that, custom errors into. So just like this is what we're returning. So I am returning that. So we have an error into. Okay, so we're doing that for the error. But you're not unhappy with this. The treat bound result error is not satisfied required because the requirements and impl of convert from for error port required because the requirements the impl Toggle bit, hello. I downloaded The Wolf Among Us and like I liked it. I'm like, I'm gonna add this to my backlog, and then I forgot about it completely. So I need that's gonna be another one I have to add onto my list. Oh, I have to do a real error here, don't I? Like, not one of these errors. I have to do an error, like a Rust error. Okay, so okay or else. Okay, so that's gonna give me an error 0. Oh, that's weird. How do I want to do this? I almost might want to do a if-let sum. Remove the error and just return the value and say, oh yeah, that's probably, yeah, I don't need to like create an error, do I? We're just gonna do this. Are you happy now? So far, Okay, thank you, Togglebit. So we have our filter map. Okay, so we have to give it the index. Oh, and we also have to give it the oh, this is not gonna work out, is it? Self that entities. We're in a map in entities. How is it gonna like this? It's gonna hate it. Reference to it. Yeah. Oh, needless borrow. Okay, so it figures that out. Okay. Temporary value dropped. New. Let's see. Use new. Okay, so your temporary value dropped. Consider using let binding and create. Oh, so I need to create this query first, and then I can do the other stuff. I can't do it all in one line. So I think what we're gonna have to do is do something like this. Let our query equals you. Like that. That gives us an actual query. So this is going to be our query, like query results. It's going to be equal to query. That makes you a little bit happier. And now, okay. You are going to be a vec. I could just shadow query. That is true. I could just shadow query. Here, we can do that here. We're gonna shadow query. You to be mutable. Okay. Now we're back to being happy again. All right, so you can be question marked. So we can get the actual, we want to get the health out of here. That's the idea. So we're trying to query for the health. So we've now got you with this okay or else. That's our error. What are you on? Unnecessary closure. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I don't need the else. It's just telling me to use that. All right. Select components, unused variable. So now that we have these components, I want to grab the ID of this. Okay, so we're going to grab that. So we're going to do let component. It's going to be equal to components of index self.id. Now that gives us this option. So I wonder if I can do another okay or, and let's do custom errors. What have we gotten here? Entity does not exist. Probably that. We'll question mark you. Cannot move out of here. I don't really want to move out of here. Now that gives us a RC ref cell, so I can clone this. Let's clone it, which should be pretty cheap because it's a entity 404. Yeah, exactly. Consider borrowing the options content. Oh, as ref. Okay, I could do that too. So let's see. Okay, or instead of clone, we're going to do a as ref. Then wait a second. Oh wait, I do that here, don't I? So you're an option off of components. I do as ref, which still gives me an option. Now I can do the okay or do that. Now I have this reference to the RC. doesn't really matter. It's an RC. I want to get in it to the ref cell and borrow the ref cell. And we're just doing a borrow. So now we're going to do that borrowed component is going to be equal to a component dot borrow. Okay, that now gives us this ref dyn any. Now I want to return an actual thing, not the any. So we need to downcast this. So let the actual thing. So what are we gonna call this? Let the data. Or maybe it's like there's the full component now. Component data is going to be our borrowed component dot. We want to downcast ref to this t. And that gives us this option t. So let's come back into custom errors and we're going to add in a. See that does not exist. So new error with this is the type of component doesn't match what we queried for. So this is query type mismatch. So we do you, and then okay, or custom query type mismatch, question mark u. Okay, so now we have this reference to type T. So I want to do this result, and we're going to do then just a reference to the type. So then in here, we're going to return an OK data, which now if I think about that, I can skip this and I can skip this question mark. And now we can see we're going to give this result with the type T. Okay. That's not the type, is it? Can I do an into on the end of this? No, that would have been too easy. So expected a result found. Oh, I don't want to do that. I guess that won't let us do that. Okay, fine. Data equals to you. We're not going to do our that. We'll question mark you, and then we'll just do an OK data inside. Oh wait, did I have a semicolon at the end? Did I completely just miss that? Oops. Thank you, Garetio. Let's try this again. So you are. Let's try a dot into here. No, it's not there. Is it? Do I have to do the into here? I have to convert that error into the right type, don't I? No, it doesn't like that. Cannot return a value referencing local variable borrowed component, returns a value referencing data owned by the current function. Oh, so that's our problem. So we're can't do that. Because I've downcast it. I'd have to clone it, but then the problem is that the entire point of the ECS and be able to manipulate things won't really work for us anymore because we can't manipulate them in place. Like if I was willing to clone it, then that would work completely. But I can't do that. If I'm trying to return a reference to T, can I return value referencing local value borrowed component, returns a value referencing data owned by the current function? Yeah. So it's owned. I'm doing the as ref. So the component is not owned by me, but this borrowed component is, because I borrow it here. So, now, how did SOS try to solve this? So it does create a ref. Oh, you're not doing. You're doing it by owned by this. Yeah, but that's not getting like an actual reference to it anymore. Because you're mapping through the option. Although I don't think I've tried this ref map before. Let's take a look at that. So we got this. Can I do a... No, not that. Okay, well let's start by doing this. Let's put it into a variable. So I can play around it. Okay, so that's a problem. So I don't want to downcast it here, do I? Here's our ref. So we borrow. Now I want to do a borrowed component. Oh, we're doing a map off of ref. Ref map. What are you? Makes a new ref for a component of the borrowed data. The ref cell is already immutable borrowed, so this cannot fail. This is an associated function that needs to be used as ref map. A method would interfere with the methods the same name. Okay, awesome. So interesting. So we get v1, which we borrowed off of for this, and then we're going to get this new t. Interesting. So the original is going to be this borrowed component. And then we're going to have this function here, which is something. Okay, so it's our any. So it's our any type. We need to downcast this here. So this is going to be our any downcast ref. Then we're going to give it this t. Problem. You are returning a ref. Okay, so now I want to return a ref with t inside. Togglebit, you heading out to get food? Well, thank you for stopping by and saying hello. Have a good meal. All right. So change that return type. I expected this result. Okay, so then you found just this ref. Let's put an okay around this. Like that. Now you, mismatch types, expected reference, found an enum with this option. Okay. consider borrowing here. Okay, let's borrow. Expected cell T found. Okay, so let's throw you in here. Oh, but it has an option T inside. So that's a little bit difficult to turn into. So I want to strip the option off of here if I could. Can I do an OK or and then have our error. Now map needs to return just a ref. But if I bail, it's bailing out of here and not here, which is not fun. I wonder if I can do the question mark in here. I don't think it's going to work because I think it's going to question mark out of here and not here. But let's try it. Custom errors. Grid type mismatch. And then question mark U. So U, yeah, okay. So the closure doesn't return a result. This function should return a result or an option to accept. Yeah, so it doesn't do that. So what I would need to do is just a dot unwrap. Can I infer an appropriate lifetime for autoref due to conflicting requirements? So if we go back to this. You're not unhappy with me. I'm not super happy about having to use the unwrap here, but I don't know if we can get around it at this point. With all the other logic that we have in there, it shouldn't cause a problem. It should be fine. Okay, so now we know we're gonna get this result ref in the T. So we can come back to query here and then see how we're gonna use this. So we have this health, which is a ref U32 because we're unwrapping that there. So now we can assert. So we can assert equal that health. And I think I can just dereference the health. And you're gonna be equal to a 10. Let's see if that works. It does indeed, nice. Okay, so this clearly is making the interface from the user's perspective a little bit nicer. Now, if I wanted to do the exact same thing for mutables, so return entity alternative ref, and then we want to do this exact same thing again, but for mute, then we're going to do the exact same thing here. We're going to do that. That's fine. Create the query for the same thing. Run that. Verify that you're correct here. The real difference that we see is going to be in here. So instead of get component, I'm going to get component mute. Give it the type that we're looking for. I guess like assert that your health is 10. Let's then, we want to be able to say health, like a dereferenced health. That's just like plus equals to 1. Then I would expect that I can do the entire query again. Which now I've lost it, so I need to do this entire thing again. And I would now expect, I don't need to get it mutable. expect you to be 11. And that's all I would care about. So get component mute is now missing. Everything else I think is going to be the same. We're just going to assert that you're 10, check it, do the entire query again, and verify that you are what we expect you to be. So let's copy this function, see how much of it actually is the same. Okay, so we're going to take in that type. We're going to return a result with a ref mute instead. Can you get the tape ID? Okay, we need to get the components. That's going to be the same thing. Components. Okay, so here's our components. So the big thing here is that we have this borrow. We're going to change this to a borrow mute. And then we're going to turn this into a ref mute map. I think. Oh, and you need to be downcast mute. I think that still works. Let's go verify. You have an error. Cannot borrow health as mutable. It's not declared as mutable. Well, let's change that. It's not yelling at me. And it's working. Okay, so that is that's an example of what we can do here. That's pretty nice. Now, this query entity that we can now return is it's pretty simple, but we can add more stuff to it if we really want to. Now, something that I think would be really, really cool is if we could also store the types into it too, but I'm not going to worry too much about that right now. I think like just doing this means that we're cutting down from, here's a run query. Here's what it looks like. We do create a query, and then we have to do all of that stuff with the borrowing out here in like the logic code and the systems. Now we do that all in here. It's nasty, yes. Let's see if we can further refactor this, because a lot of this is the same code. So the only change happens at this borrowed, is it? So what if I have a private function to sort of like find component? I don't know what I'm going to return for this yet. We'll figure something out. And I kind of want to just do, well, I need to do the type ID only for the get. I don't need it for there. So type ID, the components happen all there. Really, this is what I want to move into here. So we'll have the type, which implements any. We also know we need to return a result. And then what are we going to return in here is this entire thing. So this component is this RC refcell dyn any. Okay. So a reference to an RC. sell 9 penny. What did I do wrong here? What are you upset? Oh, don't need that. Okay, find component. Need to pull you in. Can I find RC in the scope? Wait, I brought it in. Oh, I need to save. Okay, then you are... Okay. Wait, can I do an... Just make you an okay? Oh, that looks a little bit simple, like weird with that here. I think what we could do is like this and do that into in hue. Use of okay or followed by a function call. Okay, we need to use the okay or else. That. Okay, now find component is gonna be replacing everything up until here. So we're just gonna do, you just completely get replaced. We're gonna do that component equals self dot find component. We give it that T. Question mark that, and we're good to go. Now, another thing I'm curious about is, can I actually just throw this in here and replace that line? I think I can. So we can just do that. So at the borrow, so when we start the borrow mute, none of this stuff we need to do here. We're gonna do a self dot find component, give it that T, and then question mark it. So that makes those functions a lot simpler. They're only doing unique stuff now. So they're both gonna find a component, which is the similar stuff that they both need to do. And then they're either gonna borrow or borrow mute, depending upon if they're the mutable version of it or non-mutable version. And then they return the same thing, except they have to do this downcast ref or downcast mute, which is not bad. The test should still pass. Okay. And what's your warnings? How did I bring that in? We're not using bail either. All right, let's run the entire test suite, make sure that things are working still. Well, that's a thing. Wait, what? What? Why do I have tests failing in the actual standard library? Language printing. What? Error, this always fails. I don't know what you expected. What? I mean, that seems a bit odd. All... Wait, is it because I'm in the wrong... No, I'm in the correct directory. I'm in the root directory here. Huh, that's a bit odd. Why are you running all those tests? I want you to run these tests. And pretty much that's it. Now, if I run these myself, this works just fine. So, I don't know how to tell it to run exactly what I want to run. And like not language lessons? Are these somehow mine? Do I... Oh, you know what? I did put them in here, didn't I? Is there like a language in here somewhere? There it is. All of these. So I need to not have the tests active on language. That's my problem. So these are mine. Printing and results. These are from the actual lessons. So printing. We have a panic in here. We don't need that. Set you up and results. This always fails. This also always fails. Let's just not have those run. Let's try this again. There we go. Okay, much better. We have some warnings now because of that. So let's see. This always fails. It's never used. I think we could just turn this warning on. Warn. Dead code. Allow, I guess. All right, once more. Yeah, I forgot that I had all those lesson things that we did at the very end of the project, and that though we had some like always failing tests, which is not optimal. Okay, and so then the big thing here would be how to implement these. So I think I'm going to keep the tests going here. And then what we do is we'd have maybe another another sort of like supplemental lesson of like how to do this, like how to build this. So I'm going to turn these off temporarily. And then query entity. So this shouldn't be too hard for us to like recreate now that we know what we're doing. Wonder how I want to store this. Let's do this was in the improve skills building and ECS library. This is entity query. So I'm just gonna store this away for notes. Or query entity, I guess. Okay, and then because of that, I would want to just delete this essentially. Have this file sitting there, but we're not going to do anything with it. Then in query, run entity. I want to take you out. And we'll just save you as a comment there. Actually, I'm just going to cut you out. There, and we'll just store that there so we can gain access to that later. That's mostly because I don't have time to do the full recording now, so I'm gonna have to do this tomorrow morning. And then we'll get that uploaded, and then we can continue our deep dive into Rust. But now I'm kind of like looking forward to getting back into the RC, because that map sounds like it's pretty cool to be able to do some interesting things on, which I hadn't got into before. So that is something to look forward to tomorrow morning. Until then, I think we can go ahead and see. Let's go ahead and remove. You want our query entity to actually have something in here. We'll just have that. What are you upset about? Expected item after doc comment. Yeah, I totally understand. I know. I guess we could have empty something. Or I can remove you as a doc comment and make you just a normal comment. Like that. That'll make you happier. Okay, and then you're just upset because we're not doing anything with it, which is fine. So... oh, I don't even have that. Let's just do this in here. Close all these windows, nothing unsaved. So we modified that and we created this one. So add source, these create entity. Let's do that. Let's do a git commit -am. Okay, so also add all these other ones that are modified and preparing for a community addendum by, I think I can do at that, right? And then push. It'll fail the test, so it won't deploy a new version because I have some warnings in here, and we have like strict mode on for Clippy. in the GitHub Actions. So I don't need to worry about like that going on until I'm done with this. But I think we're good there. That was, I think, a good use of code spaces. Nice and easy. We should be able to go and see that actually sitting up here now. Yep, preparing for the community addendum. So we can now go and actually take a look at that. All right. Everyone, thank you so much for stopping by. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream now. Tomorrow morning, we're going to go ahead and record this as a video and then continue on with the deep dive. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you then. Bye.